Thank you, Senator Inhofe. Senator Shaheen, please.
Good morning. Congratulations, General Cotton, on your nomination. Thank you to you and your family for your long service. I would like to begin by following up a little bit on Senator Inhofe's questions about the challenges with modernization. And you talked about a dependable budget process. You talked about a whole-of-government cooperative effort. What you didn't talk about is the supply chain and the challenges with making sure we have the critical minerals, the other requirements to modernize our nuclear arsenal. Can you talk a little bit about what you think those challenges are and how you see the ability to impact that and what we should be thinking about as a committee?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Absolutely correct. As we are seeing the modernization programs within the nuclear portfolio, I would venture to say that it's probably being seen across the Department of Defense, but in particular for the nuclear portfolio. Even as we're seeing the industry partners do Herculean efforts and work in moving the programs along at a great pace, what we are now finding is the realities of supply chain limitations and supply chain shortfalls. We had a great discussion, and a good example are some components that are U.S.-made components with U.S.-made subcomponents that are still taking what would be on average maybe 10 days to source, that are now taking up to 90 days to source. So by definition, if you look at what we need to do in regards to maintaining a flow and schedule to get our new modernized systems online, if you introduce that into the flow, those delays right there are going to cause me concern. And I think it's going to take everyone to understand how we can close the gap on supply chain management and ensure that we can get the supplies to the industry partners that are trying to modernize this force.
And are you comfortable that we have the components that we're going to need being manufactured within the United States, the materials that we need being produced in the United States?
Ma'am, I did until we started to see that kind of eke into the schedule as being problems with supply chain.
Thank you. Can you describe how you analyze the difference between strategic deterrence and integrated deterrence, and how you see that affecting your role, if at all, in terms of the mission of STRATCOM?
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for the question. It's integral. Integrated deterrence is a whole of government opportunity. And the way I describe that is, I remember growing up and using the dime theory when I was a young lieutenant, but it's used in all instruments of power within the government, the United States, to afford us a deterrence factor that makes it so we never have to get to the day where I have to execute the mission if confirmed from U.S. Strategic Command. Strategic deterrence to me composes more than just nuclear deterrence. Strategic deterrence to me has a conventional and a nuclear component to it. And it is the backstop, in my opinion, to ensure that we can deter forces when called upon.
So does the focus on integrated deterrence change the role that you would have confirmed as the head of STRATCOM?
Ma'am, I don't believe so, because I think strategic deterrence is an integral part of the overarching integrated deterrence that we all speak of.
Thank you. One of the, as someone who remembers the Cold War very vividly and the focus on the concern about nuclear annihilation and the ability to destroy the world that way, and there was a lot of attention to that has dissipated over the years with some of the arms control agreements and all. But I think as we look at the war in Ukraine and some of Vladimir Putin's statements, there is a renewed concern about what what the use of nuclear weapons would mean. Are there ways in which you think our strategic command, our nuclear triad, are helping to constrain what Vladimir Putin does now in this war in Ukraine?
Senator, thank you for the question. I absolutely believe that our nuclear deterrent force held. We did not see Russia do anything with our native or our NATO partners. The rhetoric we may have heard the rhetoric, but I think at the end of the day, Russia and China both understand that we have a strong, resilient nuclear force that is offering deterrence to ourselves and extended deterrence to our allies.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.